Welcome back, everyone. My name is Paul, and I got the job of doing the introduction for this episode. Scary. This is True Life Crimes, and I am joined by Rosie,
Hi.
and this is Sinister. I fucked up halfway through the.
I know, it's up to you. We can re-record it, but it sounds kind of cute. Keep it. So today we will be discussing a tragic case that sounds straight out of a horror movie. This is a murder that took place in a neighbourhood out of a fairy tale during broad daylight, starring a killer dressed up as a clown and a loving mother and wife who had no idea she was staring in the eyes of her murderer. Let me tell you the story of Marlene Warren and the crimes that shocked an entire community and the investigators for decades. Marlene was born on the 15th of April, 1950 in Mount Clemens, Michigan. She was only 15 years old when she fell pregnant with her first son, John Aarons Jr., named after her husband. Soon after, the couple welcomed another son named Joseph, who went by Joe or Joey. When the boys were still really young, John was killed in a car accident, leaving her a single mother of two at a very young age.
Joey, not kind of Australian name.
Joey. That's what his name was in a lot of the interviews. It was Joey, but very American.
Joey. Think of Joey's Australian now.
What about Joey from Friends?
Yeah, but Australians call that thing Joey's, do.
Like a baby kangaroo.
Seen that in Home and Away.
I don't think I've ever met a Joseph that went by Joey in Australia.
Okay.
In 1972, when Marlene was 22, she met Michael Warren, who was 19. They got married that year and moved to South Florida. He took on the father role for the children, with Joe saying he thought Michael was a good dad, but he was the only father he ever really knew. Marlene was a great mother who put a lot of time into her children and loved helping others. Joe said everything she did, she took pride in, and others said she just doted on her kids. She was a very family-orientated person, family being her priority. She just wasn't someone with enemies. Michael got a job as a meat inspector, and Marlene was praised for her amazing work ethic and for being quite the businesswoman as they began investing in rental properties. Over time, they acquired more properties, even entire apartment complexes, and they started bringing in good money for their family. Marlene was running these properties on her own, and they were doing so well financially that Michael was able to quit his job as a meat inspector, and they opened up a used car lot and car rental business called Bargain Motors.
How did Marlene get so rich and all of a sudden and start investing in properties?
My thoughts, because it doesn't actually specify how, I don't know if it was supposed to be from Michael's money, but my thoughts were that maybe either when her previous husband passed away, she inherited something.
I'm sure when Tia passed away fairly young.
We never know. Maybe he was older. Maybe she had money from family. That part's never actually disclosed. The businesses were in Marlene's name, but she dealt with the rental properties and Michael dealt with Bargain Motors. All of these sources of income behind them allowed a comfortable lifestyle for the family, and they ended up buying their dream home. This home was on an acre of land in the affluent Aero Club community in Wellington, Florida. This was said to be the perfect place to raise a family and a community where everyone had access to a private runway. Given that Michael had his pilot license and a plane, it seemed perfect. Plus, there were some of the best schools in the state nearby and celebrity neighbours.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be a fairly posh spot.
I believe it was. Looks very country club, cocktail parties, quite upper class appearing. Would soon come. But the picture-perfect life would soon come crumbling down when tragedy struck the family in 1988. Marlene's oldest son, John, was in a car accident. He was only 22 when he appeared to have failed to stop at an intersection and was hit by another car from behind in a collision that took his life. This seemed to have been the cause of some troubles manifesting in Marlene and Michael's relationship that pushed them apart. They started doing their own thing more. Marlene enjoyed going to cocktail parties and country clubs, which Michael had no interest in. He wanted to go to horse racing events and spent a lot of time at their business. Marlene was spending a lot more time focusing on the house and being a mother to Joe, which neighbours noticed her doing alone. She was even the one doing the groceries and was always seen doing them without Michael. Michael appeared to have stopped taking part in any household stuff and spent more time at work. They were together as a couple, but it looked like they were living separate lives. Then, on the 26th of May 1990, in what could only be described as a nightmare, the family faced yet another horrific event, changing the course of their lives forever. The morning began with 40-year-old Marlene home with 21-year-old Joe and 3 of his friends. Joe had a broken leg with a bright blue cast on, and Marlene was serving up breakfast for everyone. It was around 10:45 when they heard the doorbell ring.
Ding dong.
So their front door had parts that were made of glass, and they were able to make out a colourful figure through the glass.
That's what most of them big Florida houses would have the half door, half glass, big porch.
Yeah, I like that look, but I feel like it is a very old-fashioned look. Is that still a thing that people do? Glass? I feel like people don't want people looking into their property.
Could put a curtain there.
Imagine a curtain on your front door.
And on the front door, the glass panels on either side.
Oh no, oh yeah, I get what you're talking about. Yeah. So from inside, this figure appeared to be a clown. Now, Marlene loved clowns. Her mother Shirley loved clowns, and Marlene had obviously grown up with a similar fascination. Shirley even had an entire room in her home dedicated to clown art and figurines. Some of the art Marlene had painted herself as a teenager.
Is that not a weird fantasy?
Clowns. I'm not sure if it was a fantasy, but a fascination.
Fascination itself.
I think it is. I feel like you hear a lot of people who have like clown phobias and stuff, but I cannot imagine hearing that someone likes.
But imagine children get clown phobias and being taken to the circus at a young age and they see this big stupid thing with fuzzy hair and a red nose and start throwing buckets of water on top of them. That gives them a fear of clowns from day one.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. No. Do you remember when we were at the circus and the kid in front started crying?
Yeah.
It was the clown.
That was a clown.
So, due to Joe's broken leg, he thought it must have been a gift someone organised to help cheer him up. Like a clown was coming to make him feel better.
Joanna 21, no?
Yeah, Joe's 21.
Oh, I was just asking.
I know. No, he's 21, but maybe he has a fascination with clowns as well.
Weird.
So Marlene went to the door, saw this person dressed up in a complete clown costume. Like full outfit, white gloves, big orange wig, white face paint with a big red smile.
All her fantasies came together in one split second.
I'm sure she was very happy for a very brief moment. The only difference being that this clown was wearing black Converse instead of big clown shoes. So the clown held a white wicker basket of flowers in one hand and 2 foil balloons in the other. One balloon was of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, and the other one had "You're the Greatest" written on it. The clown handed Marlene the balloons and flowers, which she happily accepted, saying, "How pretty." Then suddenly the clown pulled out a gun and shot Marlene in the face before Marlene would have even had time to process what was happening.
That would be her last encounter with a clown, I'd imagine.
Joe got up in time to see his mother fall to the ground, and he made eye contact with the clown as the clown casually and calmly walked away to a white Chrysler LeBaron. Joe attempted to run after it, but as I said, he was in a cast, and the clown was able to drive away, not even appearing to be in a rush or anything, as if nothing had happened, while Marlene was left bleeding on the doorway of her home. Joe's first instinct was to get in Marlene's car and drive after the LeBaron, while his friends attempted to help Marlene. A neighbour was walking his dogs at the time and thought he'd heard a nail gun, but shortly afterwards, Joe's friends came running out of the house, screaming, "They've shot Joey's mother." Bill's wife told him to stay there while she went off to call emergency services.
There's some difference between a nail gun bang and a shotgun gang.
I was just about to ask you that, actually, because that would be my assumption too.
Definitely a shotgun would be, or whatever gun he used, would be a lot louder than a nail.
I've never spent time around nail guns and things like that. I've not really spent time around shotguns or guns of any type either, but my thoughts would be that there would be a massive difference.
Do it, a nail gun is worked by gas. Shotgun is worked by gunpowder.
Okay, so Joe hadn't been able to catch up to the car, and Marlene was taken to Palm Beach Hospital in critical condition and put on life support. An article published by the Palm Beach Post described the immediate aftermath of the crime, with neighbours being shocked by the violence taking place in their usually quiet community, and quoted a neighbour as saying it was like something out of a nightmare. Investigation began and police were quickly left frustrated due to there being almost no forensic evidence left at the scene. There were no fingerprints as the clown was wearing gloves and hadn't stepped foot into the property anyway.
And what about the balloons and flowers?
Well, that's the only thing they had to go off. So it was the balloons, flowers, and just going off the appearance of the clown and then the car. But that'll come back in a minute. It's only the forensic evidence that they don't have. So Joe described the clown as being 6'1" in height, skinny, with a big, with big hands and big brown eyes. He said he was sure it was a man. All police could go off was the witness description of the clown and the getaway car, as well as attempting to trace down the balloons and flowers. But none of this was a straightforward find, and as I said, she was someone without any enemies. But this was an assassination. It wasn't a random act of violence or a robbery. So investigators knew that whoever did this went after Marlene on purpose, and so the investigation began. As investigators questioned neighbours and family about their marriage, they were beginning to see holes unravel. Their marriage was being described as rocky, and their personal struggles were coming to light, including financial disputes and infidelity rumours on Michael's side. Friends explained the infidelity rumours were beginning to take a toll on Marlene, but she was trying to keep her family together for Joey. But then on the other side, other friends were saying that Marlene had mentioned wanting to divorce Michael as she was becoming increasingly scared of him. Joe ended up coming forward and telling police that his mum had previously said to him, "If anything does happen to me, your father did it," which Joe responded that he would never do that, as no one wants to think a parent, someone that raised you, is capable of that. But Marlene responded, "Don't put it past him."
Well, they're married.
They were married.
They're married. She was in fear of him before all this.
Before her murder.
Mm.
Yeah. She'd been in fear of him for quite some time, I believe.
Was she the breadwinner that started all their businesses?
Yeah, it would appear that way. It seemed like she started all.
Like if they're living their separate lives and they kind of knew that their marriage was coming to an end, would they not just divorce? Or when everything was in her name, would Michael get nothing?
Well, that's an interesting note too. I know that Bargain Motors, which he had, was in Marlene's name. I don't know if their rental properties were in each other's names, like were together. I mean, he owned a plane and things, so he had other assets in his name. But I don't know what he would have gotten from this. I don't know if there was a reason they weren't divorcing.
Well, so like he went short a few bob saws.
I don't believe he could have been. I'd say owning a business, even if it's in Marlene's name, if he's the one there and he needed money, he'd be at least able to pay himself a wage. So Marlene also said something similar to her mother Shirley, telling her if something happens that Mike did it. So obviously police are going to look into Michael.
Well, she's telling her mother, she's telling her son, she's telling her neighbours.
Yeah.
She's not going to go to the police or go private investigator if she had all this money that...
Yeah, look, I guess it's one of those things when you're in that situation, you never really know what you do. She's got kids, she's got businesses. Maybe it was just easier to stay living at the house instead of causing all this disruption. Maybe she was in the process of wanting a divorce. Maybe he wasn't allowing it. Who knows? I don't know what was going on behind the scenes at this time. So they found that in 1983, Michael had been arrested for odometer tampering at his car lot.
What was he doing his car lot?
Odometer tampering, where you change the Ks or the miles
mileage
on the used cars so we could sell them higher price than what they're worth.
He was returning back the clock in second-hand cars.
Yeah.
For us simple people.
So he pled guilty and was served 18 months probation, but was able to avoid prison and kept his business. There also appeared to be a regular occurrence of bad things happening to this man. As I said, he had a plane, but he had reported it stolen, and then it appeared back with a broken engine. He was also into horse racing and owned a thoroughbred horse, which he reported kidnapped, then was later found dead.
It's like a story of a horse in Ireland, Shergar.
Tell me the story of Shergar.
Shergar was a racehorse that went missing and never again seen.
Just disappeared.
Disappeared. There's numerous rumours about Shergar, but Shergar was never traced.
Was he a good, like, in his prime, or was he getting towards the end?
He was a thoroughbred horse, like, he was in his prime.
Yeah? He just disappeared.
Just disappeared.
Not shown up in any other horse races or anything.
No.
Just disappeared.
Just disappeared. Never
So-
gonna trace him.
That's so sad. So, I believe that these were insurance claims.
Yeah, it sounds like it, that he was in a bit of trouble or looking for fast cash.
My assumptions are that maybe the horse was coming towards the end of its run, or the plane wasn't doing well, or whatever it was, and he just seemed to always have these misfortunes around him.
So he crashed the plane after coming back from the horse's last race.
And then the horse weren't found together.
No.
And so because of this, neighbours were becoming suspicious with these types of things regularly happening to him. And he was a little rougher around the edge than other people in the neighbourhood, which probably didn't help. He didn't fall into the cocktail party, country club vibe that went with everyone else.
He was kind of more gangster style.
Well, when I looked at him, he was a bit hippie looking, the bum fluff on the chin, the like button-up Hawaiian type shirts, just very cruisy looking. And it's okay not to fit into the cocktail country club vibe. I don't think we'd ever fit into the cocktail party.
I don't think we'd want to.
No, and that's so okay, but it's more, I think he was a recluse, he didn't want anything to do with anyone around the neighbourhood, just probably a bit rougher.
Yeah, but would you want to be hanging around with these big knobs, think they're hoity-toity, talking BS and sipping their cocktails? Sound boring.
Like, I love cocktails. I'd probably go for the cocktails, but no, like, you'd be bored, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their cocktail parties might be 1 or 2 cocktails.
Oh my days.
Not trying the whole menu.
Imagine how boring that would be.
Sounds absolute crap.
Trash, right? You've got to try one of everything.
And fall out the door.
Fall out the door. Oh, they're talking about them. It's like they're having two and they're falling out the door. So police went to Bargain Motors to try and get more info on what was happening and talk to the employees. Because obviously Michael was now a suspect, but it could have also been a disgruntled employee. This was when they were led to a woman named Sheila Keane. Sheila was a 27-year-old woman who worked with her at the time estranged husband, Richard Keane, repossessing cars for Michael, while Richard drove the tow truck. She was known for being tough but efficient at her job, and according to some, had a very close relationship with Michael.
I know the itty-gritty stuff is coming into play while Michael is spending so much time at work, or I could be wrong.
Well, no, this was one that seemed to go beyond professional boundaries, so you could be right. Employees said the two regularly went for lunches and were affectionate with each other. Employers had also let it be known that Sheila admitted to keeping a gun on her for safety purposes, and as detectives were learning more about her, Michael and Sheila quickly became persons of interest.
But I suppose you wouldn't blame her. If she's into repossession, she would need gun as protection. And I suppose over in Florida, guns are free for all, so if we're repossessing cars, I think you would need some protection.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like lots of people go around with guns on them, but I do think the fact that she's telling her co-workers in more of an aggressive tone, like, just letting you know I keep a gun on me.
Yes, that's something we boast about, but it's something that you would, in her profession, that she would need protection.
Yeah, no, I do get what you're saying. I just think bragging about having a gun on you and having a weapon on you, I don't know, do you know what? Originally I saw it as a bad thing, but maybe you're right. I don't think anyone should have a gun on them personally. I wouldn't be a fan. But I get what you're saying. Dangerous job. Have protection. So other employees also mentioned times Marlene and Michael would fight and he would arrive at the office irate, offering $10,000 for someone to kill his wife. He was also heard saying, "I'll make someone a rich man that never has to work again if he gets rid of that woman." So no surprise, he became a prime suspect.
Yeah.
Not the best thing to be saying about your wife.
No, definitely not. And, look, could be all coincidental, but you have to wait and see.
Police also received a tip from Richard that he suspected Michael and Sheila of having an affair that only encouraged the notion of Michael being a suspect. Michael and Sheila both denied all allegations of the affair, so police started looking into Sheila's background as well. Sheila had numerous arrests as a teenager for shoplifting and theft-like crimes. She was even found smiling in her mugshots. Sheila had become known for associating with bad people, particularly older men. She met Richard when she was a teenager, and he was 20 years older. He went by the name Spud and was a former Ku Klux Klan member, so just a bit shit of a human. The two were married in 1987, and she gave birth to a son named Charles 3 months after. Spud ended up serving time for running marijuana, and Sheila moved to be closer to the prison he was in to wait for him until he was released. Once out, the two moved to Florida, where he started working for Michael as a tow truck driver, and then Sheila ended up helping the two repossess cars and met Michael. The three got into some odd activity in order to repossess cars, with one event taking place where Sheila dressed up as a sex worker and met up with someone who had bought a car from Bargain Motors to steal the car back. She was reportedly caught keeping the man there with a gun while Michael and Richard put the car onto the tow truck. But she got out when the two men came around to get her, and the three drove off. Why are you repossessing cars, you stole people?
Yeah, and he could just go straight to the cops, and she surely knew the tow truck that Tookie repossessed his car.
Or even like, being like, hey, this car that I purchased, these are the details, this is the money, it was taken. My car's been stolen.
Well, unless they can take it back to the garage,
Revamp it.
change the chassis number, but not an easy thing to be done.
It just seems a bit odd. Not worth it to repossess a car you sold someone, got the money for, that was all paid off. That just seems odd.
Yeah, I don't know. Go on, carry on.
And then eventually the three became two when around the time of John's death, which is Marlene's oldest son, Sheila and Michael began spending more time alone together. They said when they first met, there was an instant connection, and in January 1990, Sheila filed a petition of domestic violence against Richard. Courts granted a temporary injunction after records showed Richard grabbed and threatened her. She was then moved into a rental property that Michael paid for.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
When police went into her home and asked neighbours, they all seemed to be under the impression that Sheila and Michael were married due to all their time spent together there. The two continued to deny the affair wholeheartedly. I don't know how or why they were continuing to deny it.
The property was under Michael's name.
He rented it. He didn't own it. He rented it.
Or the rental was under his name.
Yeah. For Sheila. So while they were denying all allegations of there being any romantic link between them, everything was pointing to an affair. And as much as it seemed an affair was a decent motive for murder, they found out that Michael would also have profited financially from her death. He would have gotten all properties and assets they owned together put into his name, obtaining 100% of the assets. So detectives believed it had to be linked to him. Michael was able to supply an alibi for the time of the shooting. Authorities confirmed that Michael was in a car with friends, headed to a horse race at the time Marlene was shot, and he was ruled out as the shooter. When investigators spoke to Sheila of her whereabouts, she claimed to be searching for cars to repossess, but was unable to verify her exact location or give police a single address for them to confirm she'd been there. With the investigations taking off, doctors inform that Marlene has no possible chance of recovering and she's taken off life support. Consequently, she dies then, 2 days after the shooting. So while all of this is happening, investigators are still looking into the LeBaron, which was the car, as well as costume shops and where the balloons and flowers came from. They ended up finding out about a woman buying a clown costume only days before the murder. The shop assistant, Deborah, said a female customer with long brown hair and big brown eyes matching Sheila's description had bought a clown outfit and paid in cash only 2 days before the shooting. Deborah said the customer knocked on the door at closing time wanting to see the clown costumes. Deborah asked her to come back the following day, but the person said no, that she needed it right now. They bought the clown suit, an orange wig, makeup, and a red clown nose, just like the one that Joe saw. She was described as being 5'10", with long, thick, straight, chocolate-coloured hair and brown eyes. Deborah then picked out Sheila's face in a photo lineup along with another woman as being who could have possibly been the one to buy the costume. So she's pointed out Sheila, but also
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah, but she's... The clone was supposed to be 6'1".
Sorry, have you got notes?
I have to start taking notes on this. I'm
I'm
doing my own detective work here. Like,
I love that so much. 6'1" clown.
yes.
Amazing, yes.
And Sheila is 5'9".
I know that wasn't Sheila's height. That was the height of someone who bought the clown. 5'10".
Oh, sorry, we don't know if Sheila bought the clown.
We don't know if Sheila bought
Oh,
the
right.
clown.
No, look, I'm not jumping the gun or anything.
No, I know. You don't do that.
Well, so look, it was her son kind of roughly said around 6'1", so 6'1", 5'9", kind of getting a couple of inches here and there.
That would
He would
be...
mean looking from a sitting down angle with a broken leg.
Okay, look at you, detective. Got the notes and everything. I'm loving it. So detectives also found the grocery store where they believed the shooter bought the flowers and balloons. The customer was described as being a white female with dark brown hair. Obviously being consistent with Sheila, but then also consistent with such a large population of the world.
And had Sheila big hands by any chance?
I don't think it's ever been noted that Sheila has big hands.
But the shooter was supposed to have big hands.
The shooter was supposed to have big hands.
Or was it just padded gloves?
It could have been padded gloves, or it could have been someone that does have big hands. Sheila has never been... No one has ever outwardly said that Sheila has big hands in any interview or anything that I've seen.
Okay. And what height was Michael, actually?
I don't know. It's never been addressed. His height in any of this will never come up. Sorry about that.
Would you say, like, he would have to be tall, fella, like, would he?
Are you asking if he's 6'1"? Are
I...
you asking if he dresses like a clown on some occasions?
Well, maybe to fulfill... It makes no odds on it at this stage. When we carry out with this investigation.
Okay, sorry. We'll keep giving you the info.
I'm getting excited here about it.
Okay. So, 4 days after the shooting, police came across a car fitting the description of the LeBaron. In the car was brown hair that was visually consistent with Sheila's hair, but DNA evidence wasn't what it is today, so it couldn't be tested.
Wouldn't have been a car from... What's the name of their garage?
Bargain Motors.
Bargain Motors. Wouldn't be a car that would have been sold from that company, or that company would have repossessed?
I don't believe so, as of now.
Okay.
So they also found orange fibres that appeared to be consistent with an orange clown wig. They got a warrant to search Sheila's apartment where they found similar orange fibres again, and they collected her hair from the ground to compare to the hair found in the car. And when they looked at it under a microscope, it was consistent, but scientists couldn't make a definitive connection.
Okay, like she didn't put a lot of thought into this either. Buy a clown suit, take it back to your apartment, take it into your car. Like, do not burn out the car after murdering someone. Do not burn clothes. Get rid of all evidence.
At the moment, this is circumstantial evidence.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
To be fair,
jumped the gun.
Anyone can have strands of orange clown wig hair in their house. It doesn't have to mean they've killed people dressed as a clown.
Yeah, but if you are in a supposedly sexual relationship with the husband of a woman that was going to get married.
Huh? You just confused me.
She was having an affair
Yeah.
with Michael.
She has denied that, but okay.
Before Marlene got murdered by a clown.
Yep.
With orange hair.
Yep.
And she has orange clown hair fibres in her apartment. And she has... Oh, the car is not linked to Sheila.
No.
Okay.
So after more investigation, they found that Bargain Motors was linked to the suspected car.
Car is back in the picture.
An unknown employee had stolen the car from a competing company, Payless Rent-A-Car, several weeks earlier. A couple had rented a car from Payless and called Bargain Motors as their ad was deceiving and made to look like a Payless ad. So it had Payless in giant letters, but obviously had Bargain Motors' number on the ad. Payless was like a bigger company, whereas Bargain Motors was trying to get customers from Payless to go to his store by having Payless but his number.
All right.
Yeah, so it's just a scam. So they called, this is the couple, they called Bargain Motors wanting to know how to return the car, and the employee, unknown, told them to leave it outside the gate with the keys on the windscreen, and the car was subsequently stolen. Detectives couldn't directly link this car to anyone though. As time went on, Sheila and Michael continued denying any further involvement with one another and said they weren't even working together anymore. No ties whatsoever. But somehow, ended up being spotted on vacation together at a fancy resort in the Bahamas, with people sending tips into the police immediately. Police got a warrant and went through all of Bargain Motors' paperwork in an attempt to catch Michael and Sheila. After searching the business, they arrested Michael as, again, they found odometer tampering. Remember? Miles back.
Turning back the clock.
Yep. 20 racketeering charges, repossessing cars he'd stole, reporting cars stolen, and collecting the insurance money. Overall, he was charged with 43 different counts of fraud. However, they couldn't find anything to link him or Sheila to Marlene's murder. Michael was sentenced to 9 years, during which time he became estranged from Joe, and Joe even said Sheila appeared to have disappeared. Joe never heard her name again. Then, police get a tip from a son of a former employee of Michael's. He said his father told him of a vehicle in the water with the gun and clown costume. So divers went into this. It was a body of water. I'm not sure where it was or what it was. And they found the car. But neither the gun or any trace of any part of the clown costume were found in this car.
But is it the car that matched the car at the crime scene?
It wasn't the LeBaron. The LeBaron was found in a car lot, a car park somewhere else. This was a completely different car that I believe was linked to Bargain Motors. But it didn't have a gun. It had nothing else in it. It was just a car. Joe had previously used a lawyer, Christopher DeSantis, in a previous case that he was never charged with. Christopher came forward and informed that Michael had asked him if a man could inherit if he murdered his wife. Christopher thought of it as a casual question, apparently. He explained, no, you can't inherit that way, but if it was manslaughter, or if someone else did it for you, you could still inherit.
So he was getting advice
from a lawyer.
And the lawyer was giving him advice how to...
Let me tell you what else the lawyer says.
Okay.
He then said, if you wore a clown suit, for example, no one could prove your identity and you couldn't get convicted. Which sounds a little bit like the murder to me.
But like, why a clown suit? Could you not wear a
Batman costume?
Batman, Bear, Robin, Bart Simpson?
Do you know what I think the sickest part about this, actually, I think is the costume, given that if the killer knows of Marlene's clown fascination, it's like in her last moments they wanted to destroy the image of clowns for her kind of thing, take like something she loved and just ruin it, give her a fear.
I suppose if she see the clown come to the door with her fascination for clowns, she's going to open the door.
Yeah, but it's like she's opening it happy and within the last second of her life has a gun pulled on her. I just think that's...
Yeah, probably was a piss take, right?
Yeah, I just feel like that's a really cruel... obviously you shouldn't murder anyone, but I just think that's really cruel. However, with this case, despite the circumstantial case police were building against Sheila, prosecutors at the time didn't believe they had enough to arrest and charge Sheila with Marlene's murder. The murder weapon and the costume were never found, and Sheila was maintaining her innocence. So the case ended up going cold when no new leads were found.
I'm right. How about Sheila's gun? Was it a licensed gun, or was it just a gun off the street? Or...
Well, no, but do you know what? I remember hearing ages ago, I could never find further information. Police went and tried to look at her gun, and she reported it stolen. So her gun was never found. I believe it was licensed. I believe it was like the proper, had a safe and everything for it. But this isn't in, there's not enough documentation about this for me to put it.
And did they have a gun?
Stolen?
Or reported stolen?
Yeah. And never found. It wasn't in her home, it wasn't anywhere. So it did actually disappear.
would like say, you'd think that she'd have to, if she reported her gun stolen, is that someone just robbed out of her bag? You think we robbed out of her house?
If she's telling people, though, she keeps a gun on her at all times, so could she be claiming that someone just took it off her? But also, as I said, this wasn't enough sources that I could verify and feel confident saying her gun was stolen and all this stuff. I can't, yeah. At the end of 97, Michael was released from prison and this entire case appeared to be behind him. In 2014, though, police got a grant to pull up and reinvestigate cold cases, and they managed to pull up Marlene's case as one of them. That's when they find out that Michael Warren got remarried in 2002. And who do we think he married?
Sheila.
One of the prime suspects in his wife's murder, the woman he denied all allegations of an affair with.
And Sheila went missing while Michael was in prison.
Joe, the son, had never heard her name. She'd obviously left the area. My assumption is that she remained in contact with Michael while he was in prison, but no one related to the case ever heard her name again, not around the town. I'd say she left the town completely.
And who was running the business? I don't know, was it Joe or
No.
was the shareholders, or was the business closed down? Or?
I don't know if the business closed down. I don't know if it had to get shut down while he was in prison. That business was never discussed again.
What about the properties?
I know Joe was managing the properties. I do believe the properties remained in Michael's name because they were his wife's properties and they were in his name as well.
Joe's name?
No, in Michael's name. But Bargain Motors was only in Marlene's name. So I don't know what happened to that.
Well, that Bargain Motors was already in Michael's name.
No. The properties, I believe, were in both of their names, Michael's and Marlene's. Bargain Motors was exclusively in Marlene's name.
Everything was under Marlene's name.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about the rental properties. So the two had married and moved to Tennessee, where Sheila had been going by the name Debbie Keane Warren since their wedding and had dyed her hair blonde. Which seems a little odd for a prime murder suspect to change her first name and her last name as well as her hair colour.
She'd probably just get sick of the brown, but
Maybe.
should have spiced things up.
I mean, that too, but...
Well, she was waiting 7 years for Mike to come out of prison.
So she wanted to look cute for him?
Cute, with her, supposedly. She might have, if she was a murderer, she might have big hands. Clown feet.
Oh, Jesus. Friends say that Sheila said Debbie was a childhood nickname given to her by her dad, and they all knew her as Debbie. Sheila went back to being a prime suspect, and they began reinvestigating. The Warrens, who are now Sheila and Michael, had been running a burger place called Purple Cow for several years. According to a former employee at the restaurant, Sheila was a tough boss who was awful, aggressive, mean, and there were rumours of Sheila having shot Marlene and that she did it dressed as a clown.
So she started boasting about it.
Yeah, employees also brought up that Sheila had dressed as a clown for Halloween one year at the restaurant and were able to give police a photo of her in clown makeup. Sheila also got drunk one night during a company party and told her employees the story of how she'd gotten away with murder in Florida. Which I don't think I would find a fun dinner party conversation. If my boss was telling me, I got away with murder, I'd be terrified.
If I got away with murder, you'd be kind of keeping quiet.
Yeah, because you're only going to get away with it for so long if you keep quiet.
If you keep quiet, you'll get away with it. I've never seen you kind of get away with it.
So neighbours were talking about how in love the couple were and how they got along with everyone, saying that they were outgoing, nice, affectionate people who would help anyone with anything.
They get on with everyone except their employees.
Yeah, she's known as tough and brash and all these things. I don't know. But no, this was just a set of neighbours talking, and I think they were just friends with them, and they wanted to have this highlight of the perfect couple. However, they were able to find people Mike had been rude to in an event where Mike went onto a neighbour's property with a digger. Is it a digger where you lift things on? He wanted to pick up rocks, so he was driving a machine, and it went and picked up this guy's rocks on his property.
Well, probably digger, forklift, all that. Could be anything.
Okay, so he attempted to take a load of rocks from this backyard with this giant machine. The neighbour said that the right thing to do would be to ask and Michael tried bullying him and asking what a scrawny guy would do. But in the end, Michael did leave the property, gave back the rocks, left with the machine, end of story. In 2017, they sold the restaurant and retired full-time in a Virginia lake house. That same year, there was finally some movement in the case. A cold case unit had retested old evidence and determined Sheila's DNA matched the hair found in the suspected getaway car. Sheila was arrested for first-degree murder of Marlene Warren on the 26th of September 2017. This is 27 years after the murder. When she was picked up by police, she did not ask what it was in relation to. She clearly already knew. The only question she asked would be if they would be arresting Michael too. Which...
Well, she was going down, he's going down as well.
Yeah, it seemed to immediately implicate him in the murder as well.
That's right, he had his alibi.
He was in the car going to the racehorse. I know.
Michael was playing it smart.
Do you know who wasn't playing it smart?
Sheila.
And again, she was smiling in her mugshot, which I think is terrifying. I think there's a massive difference between smiling in a theft mugshot and smiling in a murder case mugshot. So the prosecutor attempted to seek the death penalty, which in 2017 is actually wild as hell. Do you not think that's the craziest thing to happen in 2017?
I would not disagree with it, no.
You wouldn't disagree with the death penalty or it happening in 2017?
I wouldn't disagree with the death penalty.
In certain cases, I'm not opposed to it. I just think it just feels very medieval to me. I think... Oh, look, everyone has their different opinions on this. I just think him asking for the death penalty in 2017 is the most medieval thing I've ever heard.
But sure, if it's first-degree murder, she's going to be in prison for life, innit? If she's found guilty. Which I presume she will be, but...
I'm going to assume Florida has different rules when it comes to first-degree murder, because I don't think it'd be life.
Okay, I'll ask you a question. If you murdered someone,
Mm-hmm.
say you're 44, you're first-degree murder.
Yeah.
You had a choice of an injection or spending 30 years in prison without parole.
Yeah.
And you, 30 years, you're 44.
Why am I 44 in this?
That's right, sorry.
Is this you? Did you do something?
Right, so you're 26.
Okay.
You 30 years inside prison.
Yeah.
You come out, you're 56. How would you rather? 30 years without parole or an injection?
I can come out at 56 and live a life again.
Yeah, but see, like with a 44, like come out at 74, you're not going to live a life.
Well, don't commit a murder.
I'm not saying.
You know how Sheila waited for all her men? I wouldn't wait for you.
Precisely, yes. I wouldn't expect you to.
Oh, thanks. Would you wait for me? You'd wait for me, wouldn't you?
I would. I would, of course. Change my name and hair colour. So maybe she wasn't waiting.
Maybe she wasn't waiting. Maybe that was her disguise.
Michael found her.
Ooh. So, Sheila's trial kept being delayed and was postponed 6 times, and then COVID happened. So this was a long-awaited trial, all during which time Sheila was in prison. In 2020, 3 years after arresting her, the state announced it would no longer seek the death penalty after reviewing the case. Sheila's attorney said there were tears in evidence bags and the evidence wasn't reliable due to cross-contamination. He was causing a massive fuss over this, which obviously makes him a good lawyer, but kind of annoying.
But you know, it's not. If evidence is tampered with, you can't use that evidence in court.
I get that. Which is why I believe they took away the death sentence. So that, and the fact too that obviously this case was 30 years prior. Witnesses had since passed away. I'm going to assume a lot of the neighbours were a bit older. Memory gets funny after those years. So they offered a plea deal. And after 5 years in jail, 2 weeks prior to Sheila's trial, she accepted a plea deal to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 12 years in prison for the murder. But due to sentencing guidelines for time served, she could be released as early as 2025.
Which would be next year.
Yeah. And I think realistically she can kind of get let out any time from now. Their laws are crazy. So although she pled guilty, Sheila's still claiming her innocence through her defense attorney, who stated that it was very difficult for her to admit to committing a crime that she didn't do. But she will still be a convicted murderer when she gets out of prison. And 33 years after witnessing his mother's murder, Joe approved the plea deal. While he wanted a longer sentence, he wanted to ensure Sheila was charged for this instead of risking her getting away with it at trial due to the evidence bag having tears. And an investigator found Charles Keane, Sheila and Richard's son, and asked if he had any comments about the arrest, to which he said, "I was 3, and nope," which is valid as hell. Michael maintains Sheila's innocence and says she only pled guilty so his wife could get back home earlier.
Also, Michael waited.
Michael waited. And that he wouldn't be with her if she was guilty. He said, quote, "My wife did not commit this crime. It was difficult to see her plead to a crime she did not commit, but it wasn't worth the gamble when she was offered a deal that'll have her home in 16 to 18 months. Her defense attorney has also said that no one will ever know who actually murdered Marlene because Sheila was forced to plead guilty and that she was only used to close a cold case. He said the pieces of the puzzle didn't fit the puzzle, but detectives are sticking with it. I think that was the perfect puzzle pieces put together the whole way. I think had this case occurred this year, it would have been an instant, that's her DNA.
Yeah, all the facts kind of faced towards Sheila, but I suppose it was the detective's fault that how all the evidence got tampered with and damaged. Like it's just sloppy work from the detective side of it,
Yeah, I get
or
that.
whoever stores the evidence.
The evidence was in a state, like, to be fair, the bags were all ripped open. They bought a wig that matched the clown wig, and that was hanging out all over the place, and the bags were open or ripped, and it was in quite a state. But also to have been 30 years. So, unfortunately, to end the case, Marlene's mother Shirley died in March 2023 before Sheila ever pled guilty to Marlene's murder. But she maintained her love of clowns, stating, "I don't hate clowns, I just hate one," which is like really sad. It's nice that it didn't ruin clowns for her.
No, but you think it would?
Yeah, it ruined clowns for me. I mean, I already didn't like them, but
Yeah, but like if it's a thing that she got from her mother, the fascination with clowns, and then it's a clown that murders her broad daylight.
yeah.
That'd be enough for I think her mother would get rid of her fascination then as well with clowns.
If someone dressed up in a cat costume, right, and shot you, I don't think I could start hating cats. I'd just hate one.
If it's
What?
you're never gonna have to worry about cats if a cat shot you. We just meowed.
No, I'm saying if they shot you.
What's that mean?
Yeah.
Alright.
If someone dressed up as a bottle of Heineken and shot me, would you be off Heineken?
No.
But no, that was everything. That's everything on the story of Marlene Warren. It is such a horrible case, and I am happy it was finally solved. It was only solved last year.
Yeah, but it's still not solved.
Why is it still not solved? Because she's claiming her innocence.
Yeah.
Oh, we know she did it. You know she did it from the beginning.
But like she was forced
To plead guilty. Alright, so on your list, you've got a list here now of all your evidence that you've been taking notes on. Tell me, who would you say besides Sheila could have killed Marlene? I said besides Sheila.
Richard disappeared half the scene very fast. What happened to him?
He's probably upset that his wife was shagging his boss.
Did he go to Marlene dressed as a clone?
Was he 6'1"? Did he have big hands? Also, to clarify, quickly, while I'm thinking of it, Joe obviously got the measurements wrong. He saw 6'1", he saw big hands, he thought it was a man. I'm not saying he was wrong, but like he felt bad about this for a long time. He did interviews, he was like, I messed up, I feel like he thought this could have been solved earlier had he not given that description, and that's just really sad. But that was what he strongly believed was what he was saying.
There's me look of shock when you just see your mother getting shot in the face.
100%.
He's not going to be over the mission tape.
You're going to be absolutely, and we've discussed this before, trauma creates memory loss, it creates so many issues, and you can't be a fully valid witness after trauma, I don't think.
Well, you can't just say a person is 6'1". You see a mother getting shot. Well, he was 6'1". Or she was 6'1".
Yeah.
Then you say she was tall, small, fat, thin.
But I mean, even say I look at you all the time. If I were to say how tall you were, I would not have a clue. Looking at you, not a fucking clue.
Same as. I wouldn't even know my own height.
Yeah. So it's just, I think height's very tricky, and I think people go off what they think is tall or short or whatever at the time. But he would have still been a distance away, in a clown costume with a wig on and everything. She might have looked taller. It is very tricky.
It's not going to say, like, with a broken leg, he'd have to be sitting down.
But he did get up to chase after her. He obviously just couldn't catch her. A broken leg.
Broken leg and 2 crutches. You're not going to make up get much speed.
Yeah, no.
It's just one of these
Stop, no. It's solved. It is solved.
Yeah, but I still don't see who actually gained out of Marlene's
Well,
murder.
given that Michael and Chilla then went off and were able to open restaurants and everything, they must have had the financial backings of the retail or something. They had everything. They had a boat on a lake house. They owned a company. I'd say, you see the house that they were living in right at the end. There's 2 of them, and they have this gigantic multiple-story home on a lake. They definitely benefited financially from Marlene passing away, being murdered. But yeah, no, that's the story of Marlene Warren and the killer clown. Alright, so that is everything we've got.
Till next time. Bye.
See you later. Bye.